Hello and welcome back. I'm Joseph Hoffman, and today we're going to learn the right-hand part for the B section of Minuet in G major by Christian Petzold. Let's get started by checking out the score. Let's think about the form of Minuet in G major for a minute. In the previous lessons, we've learned the A section, which we've seen repeats. So I'm going to mark A with a simplified repeat sign. And then we've got this B section, which we're going to start working on today. You'll see this forward-facing repeat sign, which you always ignore when you first go by it. And then when we get down to here, this repeat sign teleports us back, and we play the B section again. So we also have a B section that repeats. This is called binary form. An A section that repeats, then a B section that repeats. All right, so let's check out the B section. Today we're working on the right-hand part. So here, our first note, can you tell me the letter name for this note? If you said B, you're correct. You can just use the top line of treble staff, which is flag F. Then we have one ledger line up, plus a step above that brings us to high treble B. Now, let's do a little more interval practice. I'm going to draw lines between some notes, and I'd like you to figure out the intervals between these notes. Okay, pause the video, and wherever I've drawn a little yellow line, figure out the interval. You can go ahead and write it in your own music, and then press play. We'll look at the correct answer. All right, here are all the intervals. We have a B to a G, which is a third, another B to G, A to D, which is a fifth, F sharp to D, which is a third, G to E is a third, G to D is a fourth, and C sharp to A is a third. One of the reasons I wanted to go through this is there are so many thirds, it's easy to get mixed up when there's something other than a third, like this fifth or this fourth. So be especially careful on those two intervals when you go to learn this. And that's exactly what we're going to do now. I'd like you to pause the video and try and learn these notes. Be careful of the rhythms, ta, ti, 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 ta, ti, 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 ti. Be careful of the notes, be careful of the fingerings. There's one place right here where you'll be on a finger 1 for the D, and then finger 3 will cross over to the C sharp, which will bring you into a kind of A major pentascale position for this last measure. Pause to learn those 4 measures on your own, then press play and we'll look at it together. Here's measures 17 through 20, right hand alone. My finger 5 is starting on this high B. Again, because this is the end of a phrase, I like to float my wrist up a little bit as I play that last note to make it more gentle. And I think of decrescendoing a little bit on those last few notes to finish out that phrase beautifully. Now, if that matches what you played, great job. If some things didn't quite sound the way that you played, then pause and work it out, and then you can continue when you're ready. Now, let's look ahead to measure 21. Here we have some eighth notes stepping up. So notice we're going to start on finger 1, and then we need finger 1 to come under to D to be able to make it all the way up that scale. T, 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 T. Now pause the video and try measures 21, starting finger 1 on A. Practice measures 21 and 22, then press play to go on. Now let's look at measure 23, where I'd like to add some articulations. This sticky staccato that we talked about last time. And you can put them over or under the notes, it doesn't matter. And that will just make it sound a little more interesting right there. Remember, it's not a super sharp or quick staccato. It's kind of a fat or sticky staccato. Now I'd like you to pause the video and practice from measure 21 to the end of this line, right-hand part, being careful of the fingerings, notes, and rhythms. Press pause to practice this line, and then press play, and we'll look at it together. Now, let's put all of these measures together. Starting in measure 21, we get this. Now, if that matched what you played, great job. If you need a little extra time to practice and figure it out, that's fine too. When you're ready, let's go on and check out line 3. Now here, what do you see in the dynamics? If you'll remember, back in measure 24, we have a decrescendo marking. Then here in measure 25, we see a mezzo piano. So we're going to get a little more gentle here. Notice the fingering. We have a 5 down to a 1. That makes sense because this is the interval of a fifth, but then we have to step down to F sharp. Finger 2 is going to have to cross over to help us with that. Ti, ti, ta. And then what interval do you see here? From G up to the first note of measure 26. Can you tell me the name of this interval? If you said a sixth, you're correct. So we have a fifth here in 25. Then in measure 26, we go up a sixth. Isn't that beautiful? I think that's just so beautiful. And then we go up a fifth again, step down, ti, 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 ta. Notice the fingering there, 2, 1, and then 2, 3, 4. And again, that's preparing you for the next measure. 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Pause the video and practice measures 25 through 28, then press play to go on. Now, let's look at measures 29 through 30. What do you notice in measure 29? We have a scale going up. Finger 1 starts on D. Don't forget, because of our key signature, all Fs are automatically F sharp. Then finger 1 has to come under to G to keep going up. 1 and 2 and 3 and then what do you notice here on beat 2? Aha, it's another ornament. This time, is it a mordent? No. Remember, mordent has to have the slash through it. This squiggle, if it doesn't have the slash, it's a trill. And trills are different than mordents. This time, with a trill, we generally start on the note above the note you see. So since we see a B, for a trill, we're going to start on C and go back and forth quickly, but then land on the B. Now there's different ways to do trill. You could do it for a long time, but often in Baroque music, we would just go back and forth twice quickly like this. C, B, C, B. And up above the music, you can see an example. That's written there as a courtesy. You won't always see that written out for you. If you see a trill, that's what you'll do. You'll take the note above the note you see and go back and forth. Now, most people like trilling with a 3-2-3-2. And again, just like a mordent, you want to keep your hand really relaxed and just think of it as a wiggle, You want to think gentle. The louder you play, the harder it will be. Think really gentle, keep your fingers close to the keys, and just think of wiggling back and forth with your hand. Now, I also like doing 3-1-3-1 with my thumb. That actually is my favorite way to do a trill. Like I said, most people prefer 3-2. I actually prefer 3-1. You could try both ways. I had a piano teacher who actually preferred 4-2 for trills, which I kind of find awkward. But that was his favorite way. There's different fingerings that you'll see different people use for trills. So I would recommend trying out 3-2 or 3-1. Either one would be okay here. See what feels the best to you. Pause the video and work on this trill. You're just playing C, B, C, B in a quick wiggly kind of way. Pause to work on your trill and then press play to go on. Now, it's okay if your trill isn't perfect today. Of course, it can take weeks, months to perfect your trill. I heard of a concert pianist who spent 4 hours every day practicing her trills. And she had some of the best trills you've ever heard. but she paid for it. And, she worked very hard to be able to have very liquid, fast, smooth, beautiful trills. So, hey, if she can spend 4 hours a day, you can spend 5 minutes a day just working on your trills. Remember to keep your wrists relaxed, everything in a really good piano posture. You could go up the keyboard like this, practicing trills, and remember to stay relaxed and float after each one. Now, let's put that together with measure 29. We'd have this. Now notice that when I get to this C, I'm landing on a finger 4, and then for the trill, I switch to a finger 3. Because again, unless you like doing a 4-2 or a 4-3 trill, which also is possible, but again, most people are going to find 3-2 the most comfortable. So you're going to land on a 4, but then switch to a 3, and then you can finish out the line like that. Now, pause the video and work on measure 29 to the end, and then press play to go on. Now, this is so cool that you are doing all these ornaments now. You can do mordents, you can do trills. You're getting to a pretty advanced, fancy level with your playing. You could be really proud of that. And just know that it's going to take some hard work to master this. Let's hear all of the B section now. Now crescendo. And then that repeats. Now, this weekend you're practicing, work on just right hand alone in the B section. And of course, you're also going to be reviewing the hands together in the A section. So simultaneously be polishing the A section while you also begin working on mastering the B section. Most pianists I know are working on not just one piece at a time, but usually 2 or 3 pieces, so you can have lots of material to be advancing your skills. Sometimes by working on another piece, it will actually help you with a different piece you're also working on. All the learning you do can support one another. Great work learning the right hand part for the B section of Minuet in G major. Happy practicing, and see you next time. Practicing trills for 4 hours a day? That is some serious dedication. You know, research has shown that to become a world expert in any skill or field requires 10,000 total hours of focused practice. Wow! I did some math, and to reach 10,000 hours, that means 4 hours every day for 7 years. You mean, if I can practice 4 hours a day for 7 years, I can become a world master at anything? 4 focused hours. Oh, I can focus. Let's see. Wait, how many years again? 7. Right. So that means if I practice 8 hours a day, I can become a ninja master in just 3.5 years. I guess I better start practicing. Hey, what do you want to become a world master at, Princess? I don't know. Maybe dancing? I also like writing, so maybe becoming an author. Cool. I bet you'd be an awesome world master at either of those. Well, better start practicing. Yeah. Whoa. Yeah. Whoa. Ah. Yeah. Gotta love scuba.